Now, guys, my next guest, one of the reasons I actually wanted to talk to him is just one of those guys that's the sheer determination. I've been following him on Facebook. It's not about actually his career, just how relentless he trains, how he pushes his body, how detailed he is with his eating, his training. And I thought, I just want to know where his mind is, how hard or what are his principles mentally that actually keeps him going. My next special guest, his name is Zac, and Zac was one of the players who was drafted with GWS, and then he came and played with West Coast Eagles, which is a club that is very close to my heart. But that is not the main case. The main case is just how this guy is driven, what drives him, who he is. I want to be able to experience his mindset and what drives him and how he dealt with all the obstacles when he was drafted in AFL system. He's a guy who's played over 50 games in AFL. Not many people will say they've played games in AFL in that level. Zac, welcome, mate.
Thank you very much for having me, Tommy. It's a pleasure to be in here, mate.
Yeah. Mate, I've got so much love for you, to be honest. Just how you push yourself and all that, and we're gonna get to that. But I just want the viewer to understand who's Zac. Like from that little age to being able to be drafted. Who's Zac?
Can I just firstly start by saying how we met as well?
Yeah, for sure.
And I just want to put this out there because people that don't obviously know you, or people are going to know you more. But Tommy, I was actually doing some rehab post my AFL career, and he seen me in the gym, and didn't you, Tommy? And you immediately, I ended up going home and telling my wife about you because you immediately made my day. And I think when you're in rehab and you're coming back from an injury, sometimes you just want to just put your head down and get through it. But the way your mindset was and what you offered me and things like that, I'll never forget it. So it was a great introduction into me to you, mate. And coming on the show, the podcast was a no-brainer for me.
Thanks, mate. Means a lot. But you had given us a lot. Watching you every day, the games, you had given us a lot too. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So who's Zac?
Who's Zac? It's a good question, mate. Obviously grew up in the Pilbara, up north in Dampier. Lucky enough to be up there with my two brothers. Just played footy and basically all sports since I came out of the womb. I just loved and always have been so competitive with everything I've done, whether it's been footy, soccer, T-ball, cards, the old Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
If I wasn't winning that, it was getting turned straight off.
So unless you were winning, that was being turned off. It's such a spoiled winning mentality. Yep.
And my brothers constantly called me a sook, but I feel like it turned me into kind of who I was growing up and why I had so much passion in what I was doing with everything. But I suppose moving down to Perth, so obviously grew up there, did all my sporting and schooling basically up there. I did 2 years down here in boarding school. And then found my lovely partner Ellie, who's now my wife.
Beautiful.
Up there as well. So both Pilbara kids. And then started our journey down to Perth to see what was next.
Now, Zac, your AFL career started a little bit different compared to most kids who get drafted. Most kids maybe get drafted around 18 and all that. You got drafted at 22. What kind of mindset or shift did you have to do? Because, when you get drafted when you're 18, it's very different from 22. How was that different and what did you have to adjust?
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate. I was obviously being up north. I never came down for my draft year, so I didn't know what I was missing out on. I didn't have that kind of heartbreak of, I suppose, missing out on my draft year because I never came down to try and pursue it so early. So I think looking back, I was actually quite fortunate to do things before jumping into the system. I had that kind of realization of, no, this is what I want to do. So like you said, I was a mature age pick that year. Tim Kelly and Liam Ryan also mature age.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think it was probably the year that it was coming in,
yeah.
well, that more and more teams were looking for mature age picks. And yeah, like I said, I'm really fortunate. Actually, I had those few years before I moved down to Perth and decided to give AFL a crack.
So you're in Perth, you moved to Sydney. Different places, different people. What did you need to adjust? How was life adjusting in that level? What did Zach has to change from being this guy who just playing local football to now you in an IFL system with a lot of pressure? How did you have to adjust mentally to be able to?
Yeah, it was a complete change. Like it flips your world upside down. But in saying that, my perspective around going into an AFL system, like at the same time, I was dealing with a lot of off-field things, and I say that myself, but more so my partner. And I've spoken about it before, and been emotional about it. But she was going through Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah, I
Um,
should remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, I do.
so it was literally at the same time I got drafted, and that was probably a time where I was either going to pull out of the draft, which I've spoken about as well, or we're just going to, see where it went. And then knowing that she'd finish her treatment up um, just post Christmas and would be able to join me wherever I'd be. So we decided to obviously nominate for the draft still. And then, yeah, moving across to Sydney. Yeah, no doubt it was, yeah, on one hand, I've just been drafted and
Yeah.
realising my childhood dream. And then the other, yeah, my partner's going through treatment. So it was, yeah, it was a strange time. Yeah.
Zach, I just want to go deep. You are this one on one hand, it's the dream come true. On the other hand, your partner, love of your life, is going through a really hard time. Of course, that will affect on how you're gonna do things, how you're even going to perform. And you're landing in a new club, new environment. How did you deal with that? Because for me, that's really contradicting. Like, yes, you cannot be happy for yourself, celebrating, while also your partner is going through something different. So it's like this push and pull here. How did you manage to do this?
Well, to be honest, I don't think I could have done it without, or I couldn't have done it without her support. And that was the one thing that was like we'd been together for, we'll say we've been together for 10 years now, but at the time we'd been together for a few years. And it was, if I was heading over, I'm not going to go half-ass this, and I'm going for a reason, and that is to give it everything I've got, because there's no point heading over and not being there for her to go and, I suppose, not give it everything I've got to make it. So that was probably my driving factor behind it, and just going, look, I've got my childhood dream here, but I've also got the love of my life, going through this at home. Um, let's just give it everything we got, and that's what I did.
Like, how did you manage to go to a football club, perform at your best, and home, which is your safe place, you know what's going on. But you gotta have some things you went to, either spoke to people or had some way of being able to shift your mindset, because these are two different environments. What was your go-to? Because it's totally different.
Oh no,
Here there's an expectation you have to perform. And home, it's not that smooth because you have to be also different. You cannot just come home and say how amazing you had your day. That's what I normally talk about my partner. If I had an amazing day at work and my partner had a shit day, I'm not going to come home and say how amazing my day was to my partner, because, I that's just how I am. But so for you, you're drafted, new environment, too much pressure. You need to get in the team, but home, which is your safe place, you're dealing with something else. Did you go to people? Did you talk to people? Or how did you manage mentally?
yeah. Firstly, to that, I'll say that the Giants in general as a club, incredible. Like the way they support people, players, a new club, and they know that a lot of people are moving from other states. So they couldn't have been any better with it and understanding. Two, and probably the most important thing was Ellie. Like, yeah, she's just so selfless. And every day, even knowing what she was going through, she'd never try and make it about herself. And that's just her. Like, yeah. So fortunate that, I had the people around me, but knowing that she had her family here as well supporting her. But I suppose mindset wise, it was just, I suppose, doing exactly what I could at training and knowing that I do my best here.
Mm.
And then when I head home, it was how can I show up and be the best? And not just show up, but actually just be the best and most supportive, partner I can be. And I feel like that's just what worked really well for us. I've always been so close, and that never changed at all. And just makes you stronger, really.
Mm. Listening to, I don't think you remember this, but I met you once. I think it was in Fremantle. It was in a supermarket, and I actually took a photo with you, and I said, "Hey, man, just really happy for her back or something." And I said, "I hope everything goes well." I actually was meaning your partner and all that. It's just incredible for a young guy to be able to move with all that. I just want to ask, and at the moment, I know everything is good. How is your partner going? Yeah.
Really good. Geez, what would it be coming up to now? We actually seen a hematologist last week, but it'd be 7 years post, remission now. So, 6 or 7. Yeah, it would be.
Beautiful.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years coming up now. Post remission. So, fully healthy. Obviously got a little bub as well.
Nice.
So yeah, it's all going really well.
That's just a journey. Just the things you've been able, the two of you, to go through and to be able to be now. You've got a lovely kid to be on this side. That's just amazing. Now I want to dive into your career. Um, Talk to me about your career and the AFL career. What was the most, maybe one of the, when you got into the system, how was it for you? Was it what you were expecting, or was it more than what you were expecting? Or yeah, and how did you have to shift to be able to adapt to this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think like anyone, when you're so like passionate about something, so say footy was to me growing up was everything. Um, and then when you get drafted and go into a system, I remember the first day I walked in. Like I was an avid Saints supporter growing up.
Saint.
St Kilda, yeah.
Yeah.
And I opened the door, got buzzed in, opened the door, and Lenny Hayes is standing right there, who's my brother's basically idol. And I just remember being starstruck, and then it was everywhere I looked, I was just like, oh wow, like you're getting all your breakfast cooked for you, you roll in, everything's set out. It was just such a professional environment going from country footy where, you know, you barely get your ankles strapped if you had to do them yourself.
Yeah.
Self massage.
Yeah.
Rocking up 10 minutes before the game, things like that. Sausage rolls. To changing into this environment where obviously so professional, everything's down to a T. Everything gets basically measured, and for me it was awesome. It was everything that I could have dreamed of. Especially at the Giants, and I suppose that first year I set a goal of, and I wasn't afraid to tell people that day one, probably not at the club, but I told people back home, my old coach, that I wanted to play round one. And I remember people, especially my family, would be like, "Yep, like we believe that." And I know there was other people that were like, they're a really good team. It's going to be hard to break into, but I think when you have that kind of self belief,
Mm.
I think that can take you kind of anywhere. So I just seen it as a level playing field when I rocked up, and I just said, yeah, I'm just gonna do everything I got every session, and put my hand up for a spot for round one, and
Western Bulldog. How was that?
yeah, I still remember it to this day. Yeah, incredible. Even just putting the jumper on, and I knew I'm gonna play one AFL game, and that to me was, it's like anything when you achieve something, it's like you're not that you think what's next,
Mm.
but that was a day that I'll just go, I'll never forget. And yeah, I ended up kicking. I didn't have the best game, but I ended up kicking a goal in the last quarter. And
I watched the game.
oh, I still get the feelings now, and it's funny that it was a fair few years ago now. But yeah,
What's going on in your mind when you're crossing that line? How is your body feeling? Are you frozen? Are you ready for a fight? Are you starstruck? You're running with these people on the field. Mentally, how are you calming yourself? What are you telling yourself? Where is your mind? Are you going, I want to go and just break everyone? Or I don't know what I'm doing? That's just what I want to understand. So I'm looking at maybe somebody's at work, their first day at work. They've got all this emotion, okay? Like maybe going to school for the first time. What did you do? What did you say to yourself? Where did you go? Where did you draw? How to compose yourself? How did you experience this? The song is saying you're crossing that line. How did you feel? How did you control those emotions?
yeah, I think excitement, like obviously, and nerves, but also knowing with like self-belief, like don't get put in a position by mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And over preseason, like it wasn't like I got drafted the next day I was playing. So over preseason, I felt, in me, I was like, no, I belong. Um, and as much as nerves you have, I knew crossing that white line that I was meant to be there, and not in a a cocky or
No,
you know
sometimes you need to be cocky.
yeah. I just knew that this is where I'm meant to be. I'll put in the work, and always been so competitive and confident in myself and my ability that I'm meant to be here. And yes, that might be Bontempelli over there, but he's only human.
Yeah.
Incredible player, but
Mm.
he's only human, and um, he'll go down just like anyone else in a tackle. So that was my mindset going in, that I was meant to be there, and um,
Nerves, kicking that goal. How was that? How is your body? How is your mind? Did you just find this is because not most people kick the fast goal on their first game?
emotion, yeah, and probably built up emotion from everything over the preseason. Obviously, with my partner Ellie,
Yeah, yeah.
everything. So it was yeah, probably it was more than the goal. I think it was everything from her to getting drafted to the last few years, the journey, um, and also the start of my career.
Mm. Success is it's accumulation of little things in life, sacrifice, discipline, and all that. For you to be successful, to be able to get to that first game of IFL, what are the things you sacrifice to be able to get there? Which I'm coming in a sense is, what are the things that somebody out there, whether a kid looking at breaking IFL, a manager, what are the things we need to be able to sacrifice, that you sacrifice to be able to get to that elite, to be able to play IFL level, to be professional? There's sacrifices that you made.
Yeah, it's a funny one, Tommy, and I feel like you'd be able to resonate with this as well. I feel like sacrifice is a funny word when you're doing something
Mm,
for a bigger purpose. Like, yes, you have to sacrifice time,
mm,
but what else would I be doing? The only sacrifice I'd say was the time away from Ellie.
yeah.
That was the biggest sacrifice, and family. But the rest of it, I it was like gratitude. Like, and I know that's so cliche, but it was okay. Yes, I'm sacrificing my morning at the beach with a mate potentially, or with my dog, but I'm here doing 400s with 5 other AFL players. You know what I mean? 400-meter repeats, which then I can go do those other things.
going out, drinking, partying, you don't feel like you sacrifice that? You know, when you go on holiday, you have to look at what you're eating, what you're doing. You just can't go out and do that. You don't think that was sacrificing?
Because I feel like definitely at times, like there's no doubt that, there was weekends there where, mates back home are having beers and things like that, but at the same time, I get to run out on the MCG.
Mm.
Um, and that's what I always just reminded myself of was I can still see my best mates. And yes, I can't stay out till 1 a.m. in the morning with them, but also get to do these incredible things. So it's a funny one. It's a trade-off, I think. You know what I mean? And I'd never seen it as a sacrifice at all.
That's a really good way of looking at it. I understand what you're saying, but it's a really different. I haven't actually looked at it that way. You know, you're trading something to get what you want.
Yeah.
Yes, basically. I was like, your career was really hampered with injuries. Apart from physically just being able to go through, how did you switch your mind to be able to go through that? Because, I've never been in that environment. Apparently, the boys are out, they're kicking free, they're doing all these things. And what I imagine, you're locked into this room or in a gym by yourself doing your rehab. How was that for you?
Yeah, so basically my first year I was lucky enough to play, every single game.
Mm.
Um, we made a prelim, lost against the Pies, and kind of finished up the year, and my hunger to get back, I could have almost went back to preseason the next day. I was just no. I went to Bali.
Yeah.
Had a good off season, like in terms of like enjoying myself, plenty of time with family, and yeah, obviously got back into training, with the boys. But yeah, I was so keen to get back into that next year and just pick up where we left off and just keep progressing. And yeah, had a preseason. Probably had the best preseason I've had, I'd say.
Mm.
I just had, same again, so much confidence. Felt fitter, stronger than the year before. And then it wasn't until I think it was a week before round one. It was meant to be a non-contact duel, but ended up coughing someone just landed on the back of my heel and ended up doing my Liz Frank, which is ligament in your foot. And yeah, that was kind of 10 weeks out.
10 weeks.
10 weeks, yep. So it was one of those ones where I just had to come to terms with, this is my first big injury. 10 weeks and no doubt, like, yeah. And as much as the club can be so supportive, you're looking at the boys train out there.
Yeah.
And anyone will say it, like, yeah, you're watching the boys train while you're sitting on a bike in a moon boot.
Yeah.
But same again. I was just like, yep, I'll be back. Built myself back up. Played against Hawthorn and tore my syndesmosis.
Yeah. That was your first game after the injury.
First game back, yeah. Yeah. So I tore it in that game actually. And then the week after, we played, I think it was the Dogs at home maybe. And I tore my other two ligaments in there. So I tried to play the next week and only got through.
You didn't talk about the pain, or you did. How did you end up? You've already done an injury the game against Pi. How did you end up playing the next game when you were already injured?
Well, I didn't realise it was so bad. Yeah, I thought it was just a normal ankle sprain. And then yeah, obviously it just didn't hold up the next week. So I ended up getting scans and finding out. But yeah, that put me out for the rest of the year. And I came back the week of the grand final. When we played Richmond, and yeah, obviously hadn't played all year, but I was lucky enough to be emergency, which ought to be it's so underdone.
Because you're off your feet.
Yeah, but still so grateful to be a part of the parade and everything like that. Incredible week.
Good experience.
Yeah, yeah. But in terms of mentally, And I think anyone will attest to being in rehab. You try and keep it as, I suppose, the best you can and knuckle down and do the work. But no doubt, like you're looking at the boys doing the work and you want to be out there.
Mm. It could be really, really tough. Now, going from there, the season is over, the grand final, it didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, so coming into my third year,
Yep.
yeah, COVID year. So played round one and then basically got a call the next day saying the season's off, and flew back home for, geez, I don't know how long. I think it was about 10 weeks or so. And then, yeah, went back. That year was just, yeah, basically played most games, and through the hubs and everything like that. And, yeah, I suppose it was, I suppose a good intro back into actually playing footy because I missed my whole second year. But saying that, we're playing every third day, half games. Yeah, it's a kind of a strange season. And yeah, with obviously my wife, coming back to Perth, with treatment and seeing a hematologist, um, not knowing what would happen with COVID the next year as well, we were lucky enough that West Coast, and Giants came to an agreement for a trade because obviously I didn't want to miss out on not seeing her for another 6 months if she's going to be back here. So yeah, we kind of just made the decision to.
What adjustment did you have to make going from GWS to Perth? And, maybe GWS, there's not a lot of, maybe food is not that big, it's rugby. You come to Perth and you're playing at the Eagles. Not saying this in a bad way. I think in WA, still a dominant club. Maybe walking in the street, everybody seeing you in the street, they know you're an Eagles supporter. How was that for you? Maybe photos. I'm one of them out in the supermarket. They're trying to have your own time. Hey, Zach, how did you have to adjust to that?
Yeah, I think exactly what you just said there. Like you could walk around Sydney, and our biggest players could, walk around there and not get noticed at all. Whereas coming back here, anyone on the list would, you're walking somewhere, and it was from just walking around to, hey Zach, like how you going? Like how's preseason going? Or during the season, especially, everyone wants to talk about the results in the games, which, to be honest, I never had really any bad experiences, and everyone was really respectful. But definitely, yeah, coming
You
to
like
terms with, yeah,
you didn't meet me then. You're not losing. If you were losing and you met me, you wouldn't be saying yeah.
yeah. But no, I was pretty fortunate, mate, to be honest. And everyone was pretty, yeah, pretty welcoming, or very welcoming to the club.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of supporter base and everything like that, I never had any troubles.
Oh, good. You're very good. You're very lucky. Now, Zach, IFL has given you a lot, I will say, or it's taught you a lot. What are some of the principles that you learned from IFL that you're applying in your life at the moment?
Yeah, I suppose obviously finishing up, in my career, like AFL, I suppose being in that environment and professional environment in itself, you're around, so many other high achievers
Yeah.
and people that are the best in their fields, whether that's, players, physios, doctors, coaches. Um, and I suppose for me, finishing up, I obviously wanted to be, keep following on with what I was doing in terms of being an athlete, and still do, which is, probably why the reason I train for the things I'm training for now.
Talk about that later.
And also coaching, and why I started my business, in coaching. So I still want to be the best athlete and coach that I can be, and that's probably, my driving factor now. But also knowing, resilience, still staying grateful for, everything you got, and just probably showing people, and not that, you have people walking up to you in the street every single day, but just giving people time. And no one's bigger than themselves, I think.
So, you've got resilience from IFL. How is that helping you in your day to day? So the tools that you've learned from AFL, maybe from being in the system for that long, now you're applying them in your life now. Can you maybe name 2, 3 things that you actually took from AFL and now you're using in a day to day?
Yeah, I'd say like hard work,
Okay.
and it's not just working hard for the sake of it. I'd say it's intentful and purposeful hard work. That's something that I'll always like. Work ethic, I think, will get you anywhere. Belief, I'd say, like, that's a massive driver. You've got to have belief in where you're going and intent. And then I think just vision, like, of where you want to go. So not just, yeah, and again, it might sound cliche, but not just going through the day-to-day motions of, go to work or wake up, have a coffee, breakfast, go to work, come home, repeat. It's no, where do I want to be? Like, set goals. Where do I want to be in, 6 months' time, a year's time, and then working backwards from there of how I'm going to get there. And I think, yeah, it sounds funny to talk about it, but it's so simple, and it's probably the biggest thing that I've, taken out of AFL is, if you want something and you want something bad enough, work out a plan to get there. And yeah, basically put in the work.
You've mentioned something there, vision. Visualization is what I will talk about. Is that something you used in your career? And if you use it, how did you use it? And if you can remember, I'm asking you too many questions. If you can remember a time you used it and actually happened, because I was with Ross Glendini here and I asked him about visualization and he goes, no, that is not something he ever used. So to be able to get it from you to see how you used visualization in your career and maybe even to now, it would be really good maybe for somebody who's listening. Yeah.
I honestly think, and I was actually thinking about this the other day as well. With visualization, it's probably a big buzzword at the moment.
Yes.
And whether or not you think you've done it before or not, like, I remember as a kid going down to the Oval by myself. I didn't even know what visualization was, but I'd be sitting down there commentating myself on the MCG,
Yes.
snapping a goal, and saying the commentators, Langdon's kicked a goal after the siren, things like that, and that's visualization.
Is it something you did?
When I was a kid or now?
No, when you were a kid.
Mate, every day.
Oh.
And it's funny to look back at, like, yeah, I used to picture myself, kicking that winning goal when I was 10 years old on the MCG against Buddy Franklin.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a funny one that, one day I'm playing him in a final. But it gets obviously more structured when you go into a system, and they are big on it, like AFL clubs.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like repetition, and it's been proven, like, with visualization, like, repetition in your head is just as much as, doing it physically at times. And again, it can sound airy-fairy, but
No.
I'd actually do believe in it. And yeah, if you can see yourself doing it.
Zac, I just wanted to go back to first day being drafted on IFL system. I'm going to go back and forth. I hope you're good with that. Is there a time you visualize or use visualization and it actually ended up happening?
From when I got drafted?
Yeah. Like when you got drafted, is there something you use visualization and it actually end up happening, or do you ever? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think, same again, like, probably when I got drafted, I would literally, visualize myself running out there, playing round one. And whether it was something so small of that, or whether it was, we'd go through our training sessions in the morning, and then you might have to write down, what you're going to bring to every drill or every session. And then you'd picture yourself kind of doing those things. And it's funny, sometimes you're actually in that situation, like in that exact situation during training, and whether or not it's coincidence or it's a funny one, and everyone will be, it's quite skeptical, but
I'm very strong on that. I'm not gonna. I didn't want to share my opinion. I'm really strong on actually being able to visualize things. I've done that a few times and it's actually worked. Now, you come to the Eagles, 2 years, your career doesn't continue. Either is it disappointed or frustrated or what when you realize that you're not gonna go on with something that you love so much? How did you deal with that?
Obviously, yeah, it's like anything. Obviously, initially, when you've got, I suppose, so much passion for and love for, which obviously with footy, initially, yeah, like it's disappointment, and you're probably thinking, why? Um,
Did you know it was coming?
no, no, no. Through like obviously injury, you've got to be out. Like, yeah, you've got to be out there playing.
Mm.
And yeah, no doubt, I just wasn't doing my last year there, and when time, we obviously weren't winning games, and I'm not going to sit here and say that my form was amazing. With coming back from injury and things like that, so I'll never make excuses. And that's one thing that people are, oh, should you've got another year or so after coming back from your ankle. I'm like, well, I'm the one that's got to be out there playing, proving myself. So initially, yeah, obviously disappointed, but also knowing that once I felt that and I was able to kind of go, yeah, this is what's happened. I'm not going to sit there and dwell on it. And I look back at it now, and I honestly could not be more thankful for when it did finish up.
Mm.
And I say that because of what I'm doing now, and I don't know I actually know, like if I was to play for another 5 years, say, would I have my coaching business that I've got now? Would I have had that time to, be chasing these other goals, with my body still, intact and feeling good? You just don't know. So yeah, I'm a big believer in, on everything happening for a reason.
Good.
And yeah, there's no point.
It never looks like that at the moment.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you pull yourself aside and look at it, yeah, it looks like it.
So no, definitely, like, yeah, you'd be lying if I sat here and said, no, I wasn't disappointed, but now I'm just like, yeah, that's happened for that reason, and just so thankful.
So Zach gets told this is not happening. Football career is gone. How was the transition? Because that I don't know much, but I've seen just a few people. It's normally really, really hard for many people. How did you go through that?
Well, again, because I was a mature age, I didn't come straight from school into the system, so I knew what life was like outside of,
Yeah.
I suppose, an AFL routine. So on that note, I was really lucky. But yeah, adjusting, you've got to find, what am I going to do next?
That's the question.
Yeah. So, and it's, I think the best players in the AFL, like you see, like, Joel Selwoods and Buddy Franklin's and blokes like these, guys like this, sorry, that are retired now, they'd be going through the same things.
Yeah.
They'd be going, I've just spent, and they've spent, 15 plus years in the system. What do I do now? And they'd have so many things lined up. And same as myself, I had, a fair few things lined up, and luckily enough with my, my coaching and things like that I've already spent so much time on, I was able to kind of build that in straight away.
What were you doing when you were in the system? Is there anything that you're doing looking at once I finish, this is what I'm going to do? Or when you finish, that's when you had to think of what to do?
No, I tried to always be proactive with it.
Mm.
And yeah, I would study, like I studied while I was playing. Yeah, I already had like an electrical apprenticeship behind me, but I knew that wasn't my passion.
Okay.
Anymore.
I'm sure you were happy to hang that to go to the AFL. Yes, sir. Oh, here I go. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, when I finished up, it was, while I was playing, I was, yeah, studying, just basically like Cert 3 and 4, personal training, which I finished. And then, when I finished, I knew that that's kind of the space that I wanted to be in. Obviously, that was baseline, but now obviously building a lot more accreditation and things like that. So,
Now, talk to me about your business at the moment. What made you go that way? Of course, I know most players play, they train and all that, but they never go into training people because they've trained all their life. They just couldn't be bothered. They don't want to do that. But what made you go into training?
yeah, I think, again, because I stepped out of the system at only 28, I still feel right now that I've got my best years ahead of me athletically. And yeah, like as an athlete. And I knew that, my body, because I've had those couple of years of injury, I never achieved what I wanted to achieve in terms of, say, like an All Australian, um, things like that. That I had those goals. So now it's whatever I'm training for. I want to achieve what the goals I set out for it, and that's probably what drives me now. With my training. Um, so yeah, again, like so fortunate that I came out at a time that I'm still young. I can still go after that with my training, but also with my business. It's a no brainer. Like I love training myself. I love, I suppose, fueling nutrition, which is why I did my sports nutrition. Um, and if I can help other people doing that at the same time, like why wouldn't you help other people with your passion as well? So that was probably my biggest driving factor behind starting my own business with coaching,
Yeah.
nutrition. So yeah, I'm pretty fortunate about the position I'm in.
Zach, I want to understand, what's your goal now? What's your goal? Like, you train so extremely hard. I've seen you train. When I saw you in the gym when you're doing your rehab, you are so lean, and that's the first thing that I want. Oh, this guy who's so lean. So, what is your goal? What are you working towards?
Yeah, so it's same thing. It's a bit of a buzz competition at the moment, but the High Rocks at the moment,
Yes,
is definitely one that I'll compete in this year. So I'm looking forward to that. They've got the Sydney race and then the Perth as well, which I'll do.
yes,
But same again, like I actually really enjoy the training.
yeah,
But I love competing more.
yes,
And that's something that I've definitely missed being in the AFL. So it's having these goals that I could work towards, but then um, go compete as well. So
mm,
yeah, that's a big why for me at the moment, and I feel like um, it's a big purpose of mine.
mm. Your business. I'm quite different in this, but what are the challenges? You faced challenges before in your life, injuries, moving, your misses and all that. What are the challenges you're facing in your business at the moment?
Yeah, well, I suppose starting a business,
Yes,
it's I don't know if you'd call it, entrepreneurship or um, you're doing it by yourself pretty much,
yes,
initially. And same again, like obviously I've got my wife that helps me a lot with these things, but you're doing everything from the ground up. You're starting with, obviously designing the programs, nutrition plans, but then you're doing the website, you're doing your own marketing, you're making content, and I suppose trying to build a brand as organically as you can, um, and a community online. Um, and no doubt, like, on Instagram, it's hard to sometimes post, shirtless photos and things like this. And at times I cringe at my own videos and photos, but
yes,
it's, I suppose I wouldn't say it's what you have to do because I wouldn't do it, for those reasons, but it's just about doing all these things that's gonna allow you to grow with it, but doing it authentically and something that resonates with me. So my number one, thing that and Dad probably instilled in me as well was don't try and get somewhere so quickly that you're sacrificing one of who you are or people's opinion of you.
I actually want you to say that again when people are listening, because this is something when I'm doing coaching, it's a big problem with people. What your dad told you, don't try to get somewhere.
Yeah, don't try and get somewhere so fast that you're basically, yeah, you're gonna lose sight of, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just getting there and you're losing who you are as a person,
Mm.
then it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for me, it's doing it authentically. If that takes another year or so before,
Yep.
I want to get it to where I want to get to, but I've built such a good community, athletes that I'm coaching. I'm proud of the work, then that means more to me than, than anything really.
Had a few challenges in your life as a player, as somebody. What's one challenge in your life that really, really you can remember or really drove you hard, and how did you overcome that?
Oh, I'd say, yeah, going back, I'd say definitely the biggest challenge was with what obviously happened with Ellie.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's 100%.
How did that make you? Or what did you learn from that?
I suppose that the biggest thing that I learned from that, probably that, yeah, probably when you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. Um, and you might have all these external things going on, but if you want something bad enough and you're willing to work for it, and like again, not to sacrifice any relationship or anything like that, and you've got the right people around you, then you can literally do anything.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's what I'd choose to, um, take into my life now.
Mm.
Like I've got an amazing family. Um, I've got a business I'm so proud of and growing. Um, I'm training for these things that I love and compete with.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, for me, that's pretty much everything all I need.
Mm. And I see you, I follow you from a far distance. What drives you?
What drives me now?
Yeah. What drives you?
Um, my family, my wife, my baby, the drive inside me, like the purpose. I think, yeah, being the person that I want to be, I never want to rest on my laurels, or I don't want to be that dad saying, back in 2015, I got drafted, played these games. I want Zio and my kids growing up seeing me achieve these things and seeing me compete. So that's definitely driving me, knowing that I've still got so much left unturned. Um, and that, yeah, that's what really just holds me in good stead every day.
Mm. I'm really taking it in. I would just like this. I want to talk about this from a career perspective, from maybe your personal life, and from your business at the moment, because they're three different things. In your career, what was your happiest moment?
Happiest moment of my career? Yeah, I'd say my debut.
Yep.
Yeah, I think emotionally, had my family there. Um, that was kind of everything we've done, all the work we've done, not seeing my partner, everything that the Giants did for me, getting drafted, all the work I put in was kind of just like that moment.
Aligned.
Yeah, so debut day was, yeah, pretty highlight.
In your personal life?
In my personal life, marrying Ellie and having her baby.
Yeah. Beautiful. And then in your business life, you know, what would be the best experience in your business, and from growing your business up to where you are now? What is the most?
Honestly, I'm constantly getting wins every day in terms of whether it's a message from an athlete or a client or a photo of them in front of a mirror. And that's not to, disregard them, like in front of a mirror, just going, have a look at this and seeing the results that they've got or how much it's changed their perspective on life or relationship with exercise and food. And I'd say, yeah, I couldn't pick one with my business because it's constantly just every day that, you get a message or someone, says, how much they are getting out of a session or a week or results. And you'd probably attest to that as well. That's why we do it.
There's so many things I want to ask, but I'm going to just cut it down. What you're doing now, first, I would like for you just to explain to people what you do, what your business is all about. What does it know? How is it? And yeah, so for somebody to understand what you do, yes, it's a fitness. Yes, it's changing people's life. But only just to tell us how do you go about it? What is it? Just a little bit inside of what Zac does.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, started the business, Zac Langdon Fitness. And yeah, I didn't want to make or pigeonhole the business to only work with certain people because and I say that with general population or athletes or whether it was only men or only females. So I've got a broad range of, waffle players from over east, dads, mums, young athletes, everyday people training for whatever it is, goals, or then, now high rocks athletes. So training a variety of people at the moment, all online with both programs and nutrition. Yeah, and I suppose my, the trajectory for it is to obviously keep growing it and just, supply the best, programming and nutrition that I can for other people to hit, I suppose, their goals. As I'm obviously reaching for mine, I know how important they are to me. I know how much people get out of, not just training, but how it makes them show up for the rest of their day. So,
Like it could have been so easy for you to slot into an AFL system and offer what you're doing. You could easily offer Sarana. What you're giving, and you don't have to have the stress of running your business, marketing, posting content, because I know you could be valuable for any AFL team. Why did you not choose that?
um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think I just loved the idea of starting my own business. And I knew that yes, it would be awesome to go work with, other elite athletes again, but also get just as much passion from working with as
So
you.
that's easy. You get paid every you get paid, you constant, you don't have to think about content, you don't have to think about posting. You have maybe at least maybe 4 months off. It's quite easy. You're in a position you could do that. Why the hassle of you have to post, you have to send emails, you have to do your website, Ellie has to help you with sending invoices. Why that?
I,
And there's an easy way out.
I generally love it, and like I will admit as well that it's probably what works for me in my own training now as well. Like if I was in a system, I don't think I'd have the time to still chase my own goals with my own fitness ambitions. So it actually works really well for me and my family, and um, I could see this being such a long-term thing and where I want to take it. And like you said, and no doubt, like even stepping back into an AFL system, it would be awesome, but it'd have its own, challenges and things like that. So, no, this is the route that I wanted to go down, and have something of my own that I could share with and build with other people. And yeah, that decision for me was um quite quite easy. And now it's one that I just love.
You've mentioned you work with some waffle players or some young coming athletes and all that. What's the one advice you give them for them to be able to cross that line, playing their first game and having this amazing experience that you have? What's the advice you would give?
Um, yes, I'll just go speaking from like my experience, and that's just belief, confidence in yourself, and having a good work ethic. I think apart from obviously, trying to be the best, person you can be and always putting that at the forefront. But I think for anyone to make it at an elite level or where they want to get to, you've got to put in the work. Um, got to enjoy it. You have to enjoy it, um, and never lose that love for it. But just believe that you'll get there. Yeah.
I think to get to where you are running a successful business, you play AFL, not many people can say that. There are values, principles that you live by. You want to share those?
Yeah, so I think I've mentioned like most of them during the podcast, but yeah, values, and I suppose it's same again, hard work, like working hard, but not just for the sake of it. Um, being a good person, very cliche again, but the impact we can leave on others. So yeah, waking up every day is the impact that I can have on others, and if I've had a positive influence on other people. Um, yeah, working hard and just say belief.
Huge. Like when time is done, this is not going to happen now, but how would you like people to remember you? I know this is, I'm just, yeah. How would you like people to, when people talk about Zac, how would you like them to remember you, or how would you like them to talk about you?
Yeah. It's a great question because I actually thought about this, throughout my, I suppose, back end of my AFL career and then training for what I'm training for now. And I, I said, yeah, I spoke to someone about this and another coach, and I said that, when at the end of the day, if you're, say you're on your deathbed or people remember you going, the last thing I want people to say about me is, geez, he was a hard trainer or a good trainer, or, he was a good athlete. I want people to remember me for the impact I had on them, like personally. And that would probably mean, or it mean more to me than anything. That my friends around me, the people that I've been able to help through my coaching, most importantly, my family, my kids, my wife, they can go, yeah, he was the best dad or best husband, or, he helped me out with so much of this rather than my physical, I suppose, achievements, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I think it'd be awesome to like achieve those things that I want to achieve, but it's how and the person I'm going to be achieving them.
I'm going to finish this. You don't know this, but when you moved to West Coast, there was a photo. I might try and find it. It's actually on one of my social page. I actually posted it also of you on um, training with Eagles, and you're holding the footy. You're going to kick the footy, and your quads, I couldn't even understand how you could run. Your quads were just big as they can. You are as lean as anything. I posted that and I said, wow, Eagles' new weapon. And from that photo, I actually went in the gym and actually did legs. So if you want to know you lead the impact to other people and understanding what you do, something like that already had an impact on me and maybe other people that saw that. So Zac, I just want to say thank you so much. Sitting here listening to you, you're such a down-to-earth guy. I am sure, you know, people will see you the way I see you, down-to-earth, giving. And I just want to say the experiences that you've gone through, you and your wife, the injuries, sitting here listening to you and how you've gone about it. I hope some people can take something out of that and yeah, and maybe grow and be who they want to be, and maybe play that first IFL game or start their business, and be a father or or a husband, the guy you are. I'm really blessed to have met you and to have this discussion with you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for having me. And yeah, likewise, it's been a it was a pleasure meeting you in the shops and then obviously in the gym again. But no, you're a great man, mate. And
I don't hunt people that much. It just happens coincidence.
yeah,
Thank you so much, bro.
thanks, mate.
I really appreciate that.